Hello and welcome back to the PMP Videocast. I'm your host Brian, and today we are going to be talking about one of the greatest designers of the future, or what we think of as the future, Syd Mead. In a career spanning decades, Mead was responsible for some of the most iconic depictions of tomorrow, creating designs and ideas that are still inspiring futures today. Tons of great stuff. Can't wait to get into it. Before that though, this and every video we put out was made possible thanks to our patrons over at patreon.com/pixandportraits. $5 a month gets you access to dozens of exclusive videos and helps keep videos coming out here and on our other channel. So if you like what we do and want to help make it happen, please consider supporting us. patreon.com/pixandportraits. With that plug out of the way, let's head back to the future. As a child of the 1930s, Syd Mead grew up on fantastic futures. Buck Rogers, Flash Gordon, amazing and astounding stories. These obviously were not meant to be accurate attempts at predicting what one day might be, but were instead the creators using the far-off future to let their imaginations run wild. I think this is important to note because I feel like Mead was not only inspired aesthetically by these futures, but also by that philosophy. It didn't necessarily have to be feasible as long as it was still exciting, that designs filled the viewer with wonder for what tomorrow could be. Now, Syd Mead had a very long career, and his futurism spanned mediums. We are going to be doing a whole video on his involvement in film over on Patreon, Future Film, which will hopefully be up later this month. So here, we are just going to be focusing on his illustration and commercial work, starting in 1959. This was when he was hired by the Ford Motor Company. Here he worked on several different concept cars, meaning cars that were designed but not intended to be mass-produced. What you are seeing is the 1961 Ford Gyron. Pretty wild design here. It only had two wheels and used a gyroscope to keep balance. Another of his designs, the 1966 Ford Ranger II, imagined the truck of tomorrow. It had a very sleek design, scissor doors, streamlined, made of steel. It also had the ability to convert from 2-passenger seating to 4. Quite the novelty. Syd Mead was responsible for all sorts of futuristic concepts, but he is perhaps best remembered for all his different car designs. He even included futuristic rides in ads for some of his other clients, including US Steel, who hired him in the early 1960s to illustrate how steel would be used to construct the future. This is where we really start seeing Mead develop his style. These illustrations are absolutely gorgeous. Something I notice in them, compared to a lot of the futurism we see from this time, is a sort of subtlety. The designs, while still extravagant, have a certain casualness about them, like they are showing you a scene rather than trying to explain everything that's going on, immersing you in ideas and the world he's creating. Worth mentioning, one of the illustrations showing a snowwalker, some sort of all-terrain vehicle, is very similar to the AT-AT we would see in Star Wars some 20 years later. I always like to talk about aesthetics and how they are contextualized, sometimes years after they were created. Well, Mead would eventually help design Blade Runner, in the process contributing to the development of cyberpunk. Aesthetics associated with the genre, or aesthetic, showed up in his work for US Steel. The set we are looking at was produced in 1969 and have a bunch of the cyberpunk hallmarks, neon colors, dark moodiness, the designs, obviously. Some of these feel unintentionally creepy, either in the way that they are drawn or little background details, but they are all extremely atmospheric and just drip with style. In 1970, Syd Mead created his own company, Syd Mead Inc. He also expanded his client base to include tech companies, most notably Philips. This is how Mead and Philips imagined the House of Tomorrow in 1971. We have this great entertainment unit for playing physical media, judging by the reel-to-reel and the cassettes on the table. There is also this massive wall-sized TV, which of course were eventually released. It looks like it could be projection, given the smaller monitor here. The kitchen of the future is very sleek, it's bright, all counters and appliances seemingly float. Looking at the exteriors of Syd Mead's houses of tomorrow, you see lots of glass, naturally lit, all very extravagant, all very spacious. New is mixed with old, natural with manufactured. Syd Mead also produced some pretty wild visions of future cities, working with various companies, architectural firms, urban planning. He really let loose. This one here is from 1988 and imagines the Los Angeles of 2013. It was featured on the cover of the LA Times magazine. As I understand, everyone drives in LA, and in the future, that is apparently still the case. Back to his work with US Steel, Mead envisioned a very green future. This is in contrast to a lot of other people's futures, or even some of his other futures that can come across as very cold, desolate even. Into the 1980s, Mead began working with several Japanese companies. In 1986, he produced this Blade Runner-inspired commercial for Sony's Hit-Bit MSX2 home computer. Random piece of trivia, the first Metal Gear was released for it. That's how I'm familiar with it. This commercial is pretty great. It combines aspects of TRON and Blade Runner, flying cars against a futuristic cityscape, light vehicles, synth music. In 1990, Mead designed an attraction similar to Space Mountain at the Japanese theme park Ryoma World, Spaceship 2056. The idea behind this was to show the last year of Earth's first space century, 2056, specifically a space station orbiting Neptune. Visitors would walk through several different set pieces. Very cool stuff. I found this in a Reddit post I will link to below. That same year, he worked on a project imagining a mega city in Singapore. Absolutely love the use of color here, the oranges and the blues. Fantastic stuff. In the 1980s, Syd Mead began working in Hollywood, which again, we will talk about on Future Film. His title was often Visual Futurist, which I love, and he contributed to several films up until his death in 2019. In doing this research, I was surprised to learn he continued illustrating and envisioning futures in his style, even during this period. Now, in the future he had been imagining decades earlier, this style had a really interesting retrofuturistic flavor to it. I think it's fair to say few people have done more in developing our idea of what the future looks like than Syd Mead. Over his nearly 60-year career, we have seen several ideas that have come to fruition in one way or another. His work is immediately recognizable, it is rich in quality, it is rich in thought. Many of his ideas were absurd or frivolous, but their awe-inspiring presentation created hope and excitement for the future. Please note, I tried my best with the dates. It wasn't easy finding the exact year of some of these. I also found conflicting information, so feel free to correct or comment down below. This also was not meant to be exhaustive, so by all means, add anything that I missed. If you enjoyed this video, give us a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't, and again, if you have the means, please consider supporting us on Patreon. We have a whole series over there on the future in film. $5 a month gets you access and helps keep us going. Patreon.com/PixandPortraits. As always, thank you so much for your interest in this channel, and thanks for watching. See you in the future.